So nobody believed that this was possible. Nobody thought that you could crash Bugatti, buy it back, and nonetheless fix it. Well, that's what they said. What do you gotta say to that, Mr. Matt?
I think we can rebuild this.
You think so?
I think we can.
Let's go.
You are watching one of the most insane, most expensive, most controversial car rebuild stories to ever hit the internet. And right now, the man at the center of it all, Alex Gonzalez, is finally speaking his truth. Not Bugatti's version, not Matt Armstrong's version, Alex's version. And trust me, it is not what you think. Before we get into all of it, I want you to think about this for a second. We are talking about a $6 million hypercar, one of only 60 ever made on the face of this earth.
$6 million car.
That's fine. These cars are meant to be driven. They're meant to be built. That's what they're meant for. They're not meant to just look at them. I think it's the biggest waste.
A machine that was crashed, totaled, blacklisted by its own manufacturer, rebuilt in a Miami garage using garbage can parts, and then, and this is the part nobody is really talking about, Alex Gonzalez decided to open up about exactly why he brought in Matt Armstrong and what the real deal between them actually looks like. So stay right here, because by the end of this video, you are going to see this entire saga through a completely different lens, and I promise you, the deeper you go into this story, the more complicated and shocking it gets. Let's go. Who is Alex Gonzalez? The backstory you need to know. First things first. If you are newer to this story, let's set the stage, because you cannot understand what Alex Gonzalez just revealed without first understanding who this man actually is. Alex Gonzalez, known online as @FexAlexG, was born on July 14, 2000 in Miami, Florida. His parents were Cuban immigrants who came to the United States with very little. As a teenager, Alex was not driving Bugattis. He was working at Dunkin' Donuts, minimum wage, grinding. And during those off hours, while most teenagers were doing literally anything else, he was teaching himself how to trade foreign exchange markets. This is not a kid who was handed wealth. Alex built his platform from the ground up, forex trading in his late teens, starting with a small amount of money while still clocking in at Dunkin'.
I've been trading for a little bit over 6.5 years, and I've been as successful as a profitable trader can get for a little bit over 4.5 years.
The media calls him an entrepreneur and a social media personality, though his specific financial claims have not been independently verified. What is verified is his lifestyle, and that lifestyle eventually led him to one of the rarest hypercars in existence. The Bugatti Chiron Per Sport. This is not just any Bugatti. This is the Bugatti. The Per Sport variant was unveiled in March 2020, and production began later that year. Only 60 units were ever built before Bugatti transitioned to its next hybrid successor. Every single one of these cars sells on the open market for somewhere between $4 million and $6 million. They are not just cars. They are rolling pieces of engineering history. And Alex Gonzalez, the kid from Miami who used to flip burgers and brew coffee, owned one.
The youngest person ever, 25 years old, has just bought back the most expensive car.
So when this story begins to unravel, you have to appreciate what the stakes actually are. We are not talking about somebody who casually bought a supercar and doesn't care what happens to it. This is a car that is deeply personal to Alex, which is exactly why what happened next is so difficult to understand and so important to explain. The crash, the total loss, and a decision that shocked everyone. Let's talk about the crash. Alex Gonzalez's purple Bugatti Chiron Per Sport had already had what you could generously call a dramatic life before the big accident even happened. In a moment that went massively viral, Alex had previously cracked the rear carbon fiber wing of the car by, and I am not making this up, doing squats on it. Yes, on a Bugatti. The repair bill alone from that incident was enough to make most people physically ill. But that was just the warm-up act. Later, Alex Gonzalez was involved in a front-end collision in Miami. The car plowed nose first into the back of a small Japanese K truck.
Jake Paul reversing into it. Jake Paul pulling up to the boxing event, pushed by it, I think.
Yeah, we were pushing the beat on it, yeah.
The damage was catastrophic. We are talking about heavy frontal impact, deployed airbags, cracked carbon fiber throughout the body, and suspected structural damage to the monocoque, which is the carbon tub that forms the actual safety cell of the car. Photos that eventually made their way onto Copart, the salvage auction site, showed a hypercar that looked like it had been through a war zone. The insurance company did what insurance companies do. They declared it a total loss. And that is when things got genuinely interesting. Because after Alex received his insurance payout, he turned right back around and bought the wrecked car back from Copart. He bid $1.6 million at auction, and after fees, his total cost came out to approximately $1.9 million for a car that was officially considered worthless by his own insurer. Now stop right here, because this is a question you need to ask yourself. Why would anyone do that? When Matt Armstrong flew to Miami and met with Alex face-to-face, he asked Alex the exact same question. Why did you buy it back? Alex's answer was simple and raw. Sentimentality. This car meant something to him. He could not let it go to the crusher. He could not let it disappear. So he spent nearly $2 million to get it back. A car that could not legally be driven, could not be titled for road use in its current state, and that the manufacturer was about to make even harder to fix. Because now came the wall that would turn this from a car story into a full-blown internet war. Bugatti's $1.7 million quote and the blacklist. Here is where Bugatti enters the picture, and where things start to get very, very tense. After the insurance company declared the car a total loss, Bugatti did not just step back and let Alex sort it out. They sent a factory technician from France to physically inspect the car in Miami. After that inspection,
Bugatti inspector flew from France to Miami when the insurance requested it to see the actual damage of the vehicle outside of the insurance technicians.
Bugatti came back with an official repair quote, $1.7 million. $1.7 million. To repair a car that Alex had just bought back for $1.9 million. Now, let's put that in context. A pair of headlights for this car costs approximately $174,000. Each front fender sits at around $200,000. A section of the carbon hood is roughly $58,000. The horseshoe grille surround alone is estimated at $93,000. When Matt Armstrong later visited a Bugatti dealership to investigate the parts costs firsthand, those numbers were confirmed to be in the ballpark of what the car required. The insurance estimate for all required parts climbed past $1.7 million on its own.
Considering the fact that they came down 70% from their original $1.7 million offer for just parts and minor labor.
And that wasn't even counting the labor of flying the car to Bugatti's factory in Molsheim, France. Bugatti eventually came down on their offer. At some point, the quote was revised to somewhere between $600,000 and $700,000. But here's the catch that Alex himself explained publicly. If he sent the car to France, he was terrified of what might happen next. In his own words, Alex was worried that as soon as the car arrived at Bugatti in France, it would stay there. They would start stripping it apart. They would find more and more damage. The price would keep climbing, and control of the entire project would slip completely out of his hands. He would be at Bugatti's mercy, for a car he had already paid twice for. So Alex declined. And that's when Bugatti pulled out the nuclear option. They blacklisted the car's VIN number, meaning no authorized Bugatti dealership anywhere in the world would sell parts for that vehicle. Not in the US, not in Europe, not anywhere. You cannot order a headlight, a door panel, or a gearbox component. The doors are slammed shut. Alex Gonzalez was now the owner of a $6 million hypercar that nobody was allowed to fix. This is the moment when the story turns, because Alex did not just accept this. He went to social media and posted something that the entire automotive world is still talking about. He gave Bugatti a 24-hour ultimatum. Either unblacklist the car, or he would 3D print every single part himself. Most car manufacturers would have laughed, rolled their eyes, and moved on. Bugatti did not. The Bugatti CEO slides into his DMS. This is genuinely one of the most surreal moments in modern automotive history. Within that 24-hour window, Mat Armstrong, the CEO of Bugatti Rimac, the man who runs one of the most exclusive hypercar brands on the planet, personally slid into Alex Gonzalez's Instagram DMs. His opening line? "Hey man, Bugatti CEO here." Rimac laid out exactly why 3D printing the parts was not going to work. He explained that the gearbox and the carbon fiber monocoque had likely sustained serious damage, and those are not components you can manufacture on a desktop printer. He was direct, but by all accounts he was also genuinely willing to help.
So he supposedly fixed cars, he supposedly wanted to fix this car.
He offered to work with Alex to find the most cost-efficient path forward, writing, and this is from the screenshots Alex shared, that if the monocoque and gearbox did not need full replacement, the repair would cost significantly less than the figures being thrown around online. Bugatti officially unblacklisted the car's VIN. Alex confirmed that he and Rimac had a phone call. For a brief moment, it looked like Bugatti and Alex Gonzalez were going to ride off into the sunset together and fix this thing the right way. And then, nothing. The talks stalled. Rimac would later go public again, this time in a full video response on social media, explaining why Bugatti could not officially endorse an independent rebuild. He was candid about it.
Chiron, there's so many electrical wires, piping, oil piping, water piping, fuel lines.
The crash had shattered the gearbox housing. The monocoque had taken structural damage. A car producing 1,500 horsepower and capable of extraordinary speeds is not something you can patch together improperly and put back on the road. If the repairs fall short of factory standards, it creates serious safety risks, not just for Alex, but for anyone who might own or encounter the car in the future. Rimac described the Chiron as a very valuable asset that Bugatti wants to see on the road 50 or even 100 years from now. And then Rimac said something that a lot of people glossed over. He speculated that Alex's decision to decline Bugatti's offer and pursue an independent rebuild was, in his words, driven by clicks. The CEO of Bugatti was suggesting this entire drama was, at least in part, a content strategy. Is he right? We'll get to that. But first, let me tell you about the man Alex brought in to make the impossible possible. Who is Matt Armstrong, and why did Alex choose him? Matt Armstrong was born on June 11, 1993, in Leicester, England. His father was a skilled automotive mechanic who ran his own garage, and from a young age Matt was in there, watching, learning, getting his hands dirty. Before YouTube, he was actually a professional BMX rider, competing internationally with sponsorships from brands like Mad Gear Pro. But BMX sponsorships covered travel, not living expenses, so he worked the same way Alex did, bartending, delivering food, grinding shifts at automotive shops. The pivot to YouTube came when his girlfriend's Audi TT was badly damaged in a crash. Matt bought the wreck, documented the full rebuild, and uploaded every step. That series became the foundation of everything. And from Audi TTs, he moved to Bentley Continental GTs, Aston Martin Vantages, and Lamborghinis. His channel became the home of the most ambitious car rebuilds on the internet. He is known for doing things that mechanics with proper facilities insist cannot be done outside a professional workshop, and he does them anyway. So when Alex Gonzalez was sitting in Miami staring at his wrecked, blacklisted $6 million Bugatti, who was he going to call? Not a dealership, not Bugatti. He called Matt Armstrong. Matt flew from the UK to Miami, and when he saw the car in person, he was stunned by how much worse it was than the photos. He publicly described the damage as absolutely brutal. The front clip was devastated. The transmission looked compromised. The carbon tub had taken hits that nobody could fully assess yet, without tearing the whole car down to its bones. But here is what Alex revealed that cuts right to the heart of the entire dynamic between these two creators. It was Alex's choice, entirely, to pursue a private rebuild rather than send the car to France. He was the one who wanted this done in Miami. He was the one who wanted Matt to lead it. And according to Matt himself, speaking publicly about the arrangement, Alex was the one who was willing to accept all the risk, sign away any warranty claims, and take full personal responsibility for whatever happened next. That is a significant thing to admit, and it tells you something about the kind of person Alex Gonzalez is, for better or worse. The rebuild begins, discoveries that changed everything. Now we get to the part of this story that is genuinely jaw-dropping, and this is where Alex's revelations about Matt Armstrong start to take on a whole new dimension. When Matt Armstrong began stripping the Bugatti down, properly tearing into it layer by layer, what he found inside was not what anyone expected, not just in terms of the damage, but in terms of the car itself. First, the airbags. Matt pulled out the knee airbags. He looked at the part numbers.
The airbags, we seem to have it covered. We just want to get the dashboard airbag out, but the way it's going, so far, we're looking good for the interior.
And he discovered something that lit up the internet like a firestorm. The airbags in this $6 million Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport are identical to the airbags found in an Audi A3, a car you can buy new for under $30,000. The same airbag, the same part number, available for less than $50 each. He also found that the steering wheel airbag is the same component used in an Aston Martin DB11. Given that Bugatti is part of the Volkswagen Group, parts sharing is not shocking to engineers, but to the average person watching this play out on YouTube, it was an absolute bombshell. This is the kind of reveal that makes you question everything you have ever been told about what you are paying for when you buy an ultra-luxury hypercar. But the airbags were just the beginning of the surprises, because then came the gearbox. What had initially appeared on camera to be a hairline crack in the gearbox, prompting widespread alarm in the comments, turned out, upon closer inspection, to be far more serious. It was not a hairline crack at all. It was a massive tear. The gearbox housing had failed in a way that Matt described as genuinely shocking. This was the single biggest mechanical challenge of the entire project. Bugatti, remember, had said that only 2 facilities worldwide had the equipment to properly separate the chassis of a Chiron. The car has to be physically split in half, front half from rear half, to access the gearbox and transmission properly. This is not a process you do in a regular garage. Bugatti insisted it required specialized proprietary equipment and years of expertise. Matt Armstrong split it in a Miami garage using a 2-post lift, the wheeled base of a garbage can, and scrap materials from around the shop. When they finally got inside and assessed the carbon tub, the damage, while present, was largely minor. Most of it could be addressed without the catastrophic structural compromise that Bugatti had warned about. The transmission mount was welded back into place. The front and rear halves of the car were rejoined using 14 titanium bolts. And when it came to parts that Bugatti still would not sell, Matt and the team fabricated them. CNC machines, 3D scanning, improvised solutions. When a pinched coolant overflow pipe needed repair, the team used a section of rigid brake hose because no Bugatti components were coming. The accelerator pedal, the piece of molded plastic that controls 1,500 horsepower, turned out to be exactly that. A piece of molded plastic. Not billet aluminum, molded plastic. The company Valvetronic stepped in to fabricate a completely custom exhaust system. And then, in a moment that Matt Armstrong, Alex Gonzalez, and everyone watching will remember for a very long time, the car was reassembled. The coolant and fuel and intercooler and ECU systems were all brought back online, and they turned the key. The Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport started.
Okay, I'm ready when you guys are. Yeah?
Ready?
Let's do it.
For the first time since the crash, that 8-liter quad-turbocharged W16 engine came back to life. And with the new custom exhaust, it sounded deeper and more aggressive than before. The team had not just survived this project. In some ways, they had made the car better. What Alex Gonzalez just revealed about Matt Armstrong. Now here is the heart of this video, because everything you have just heard is the surface layer of this story. The real conversation, the one that Alex Gonzalez has now spoken openly about, is about the nature of his relationship with Matt Armstrong, the reality of this project, and what Alex actually thinks about how it all went down. Let's be crystal clear about something. Alex did not hire Matt Armstrong the way you hire a plumber. This was not a simple transaction. What Alex did was bring one of the most watched automotive creators on the internet into the most high-profile, high-stakes, high-visibility car project of the year. And he did it intentionally. Think about what Alex was getting. He was getting Matt's expertise, no question. Matt Armstrong genuinely knows how to fix cars. He grew up in a garage. He has rebuilt more exotic and luxury vehicles than most professional shops will ever see. His ability to problem solve, to improvise, to find solutions where none seem to exist is real and documented and verified by years of content. This is not a guy playing mechanic for the camera. He knows what he is doing. But Alex was also getting something else. He was getting Matt Armstrong's audience. Matt Armstrong's YouTube channel has millions of subscribers. His rebuild videos generate tens of millions of views. When Matt picks up a project, the entire automotive internet follows. Media outlets cover every update, comments flood in, and the story takes on a life of its own. And Alex Gonzalez, the Miami Forex trader and content creator, understood that completely. This is what Bugatti CEO Mat Armstrong was circling around when he suggested that Alex's decision to reject Bugatti's factory repair and pursue an independent rebuild was, at least in part, about content and clicks. Because Rimac is right, though maybe not in the cynical way it sounds. Here is how Alex explained his reasoning. He was not just building clicks for the sake of vanity. He is a content creator. His income is tied to his audience. His brand is his business. And a $6 million Bugatti sitting in a Miami garage being pulled apart and rebuilt piece by piece with a garbage can and a British YouTuber is quite literally the most compelling content on the automotive internet right now. It would be strange if Alex had not considered that angle. But there is more to it than the business calculation. Alex also genuinely trusted Matt. He had watched what Matt had done with other impossible projects. He had seen Matt rebuild Bentleys, Aston Martins, Lamborghinis. He had seen Matt refuse to give up even when experts said it could not be done. And Alex, who himself embodies the spirit of doing what people say cannot be done, saw a kindred spirit. That is the truth about why Alex Gonzalez chose Matt Armstrong. Not just because Matt is a good mechanic. Because Matt Armstrong is the kind of person who looks at a $6 million car that a multinational corporation says is unrepairable without their blessing, and responds by saying, "Watch me." The tension nobody is talking about. But here is the thing about this partnership that is not quite as clean and inspiring as it sounds, and this is the part that Alex has been more guarded about, though the cracks have shown publicly in enough places to paint a revealing picture. The pressure on this project is enormous. Consider the position Matt Armstrong is actually in. He flew from Leicester, England to Miami, Florida to work on a car that the manufacturer of that car has publicly stated is unsafe to rebuild outside their factory. Bugatti's CEO, not a spokesperson, the CEO himself, went on record saying that independent repairs on this specific vehicle pose serious safety risks. Mat Armstrong did not hedge. He was direct and specific. And Matt Armstrong, to his credit, has been honest about that. In multiple videos and interviews, he has not pretended that Bugatti's concerns are baseless. He has acknowledged that he has never worked on a Bugatti before. He has admitted openly that they will not be able to rebuild this car to factory standards. His exact words, spoken publicly. Of course, we're not going to be able to do it to Bugatti's factory standards. But again, we're going to give it a go. That is a remarkable thing to say about a 1,500 horsepower hypercar that is going to go back on public roads. Now pause. Ask yourself the question that every serious person following this story has to eventually ask. What happens when this car is finished and Alex drives it again? This is the 1,500 horsepower machine that Alex Gonzalez already crashed once. It is the same car he bought back from the wreckage, had rebuilt in a garage against the explicit recommendation of its manufacturer, using improvised components and fabricated parts by a team that openly admits they have never worked on a Bugatti before. Nobody is saying Matt Armstrong cannot build cars. The man is clearly talented, and the car started. But the Chiron Per Sport is not comparable to the Audi TTs and Bentley GTs that built his reputation. This is a machine Bugatti developed with purpose-built equipment, factory-trained specialists, and years of proprietary knowledge. The concern is not whether Matt is skilled, it is whether anyone outside Bugatti can truly know if this car is safe at the outer limits of its performance envelope. That tension between the triumph of the rebuild and the legitimate question marks around the outcome is the tension Alex Gonzalez is navigating right now. The bigger picture, what this story means for all of us. Here is where we need to zoom out. Because this is not just a story about one man, one Bugatti, and one YouTuber. It is a story with implications for every person watching right now. This is a story about who actually owns something after they buy it. Alex Gonzalez spent close to $6 million to own this vehicle. He paid for it. He insured it. He spent another $1.9 million to buy it back after the crash. He owns it in every legal sense. And yet, Bugatti blocked parts sales to every authorized dealership on Earth, effectively controlling what he could do with property he purchased outright. That raises a question far bigger than supercars. What rights do you actually have over the things you own? We are seeing this same argument play out across tech. Right to repair battles, software locks, devices engineered to be unrepairable outside the manufacturer's network. Bugatti's position is the hypercar version of that exact fight. Yes, their safety concerns are genuine. A 1,500 horsepower car with a compromised structure is not a joke. But the principle matters regardless. Alex threatening to 3D print Bugatti parts is not just a funny internet moment. It is a man saying, "I paid for this, it is mine, and I will fix what I own with or without your permission." Whatever you think of his judgment, that takes nerve. Where things stand right now, and what comes next. As of the latest updates from March 2026, the Bugatti Chiron Per Sport has been started for the first time since the crash. The halves are reunited, the transmission is addressed, the custom exhaust is on, the engine runs, the car is alive, but it is not finished. There is still a long road between a running engine and a car safely drivable at the performance level this machine was built for. Bodywork remains devastated. Carbon fiber repairs on the monocoque still need to be addressed. And throughout all of it, Matt Armstrong is doing what he has always done, documenting every step, being honest about every setback, and refusing to quit. Alex Gonzalez is watching and waiting. He gave Bugatti a 24-hour ultimatum, got the CEO on the phone, turned down a factory repair, brought in the internet's most famous car rebuilder, and set the whole world watching. He accepted all the risk. He put his money, his car, his reputation, and his safety on the line. Now he is waiting to see if it pays off. So here is what I want you to tell me in the comments right now. And I am asking this genuinely, because this is a question where there is no easy answer. Was Alex Gonzalez right? Think about everything you just heard. He crashed a $6 million car. He bought it back for $1.9 million. He turned down Bugatti's offer to fix it properly, even after the price came down to $600,000 or $700,000, because he did not want to lose control of the project. He brought in a British YouTuber and a garbage can to split a carbon fiber hypercar chassis in a Miami garage. He is planning to drive this car again. Is that genius? Is that recklessness? Is it the ultimate flex of content creator thinking applied to a real-world problem? Or is it the kind of decision that only sounds good until the moment it doesn't? And here is the secondary question, one that is just as important. What do you think about Matt Armstrong in all of this? Is he a hero of the right to repair movement? A brilliant mechanic doing the impossible? Or is he taking on a project that, no matter how talented he is, carries risks that go beyond what should be attempted outside a factory setting? Drop your answer below. I read every comment. And this conversation about ownership, about content creation, about the relationship between manufacturers and the people who buy their products, is one that deserves to be had loudly and publicly. Because if a kid from Miami who used to work at Dunkin' Donuts with a British YouTube mechanic and a garbage can can rebuild one of only 60 hypercars ever made against the explicit recommendations of its manufacturer, then maybe the question we should all be asking is not whether it can be done. Maybe the only question is, who gets to decide what you do with what you own? If this video gave you something to think about, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. Subscribe if you are new here, because we are going to keep following this story every step of the way. And share this with someone who needs to see it, because the Bugatti rebuild is far from over. The next chapter is coming, and when it does, we will be right here breaking it all down for you. See you in the next one.